I feel very lucky to be an AICF scholarship recipient because that really changed a lot for me. I mean, I wouldn't be able to acquire my higher education and develop like I did without their help, because scholarships are the things that always allowed me to keep developing. So I think we're very lucky and fortunate to have AICF support us, because like with every art, and if you look back at history, every art has somebody behind it supporting it. So people can actually make art at a high level, and I think that's what AICF is doing for us, and I'm grateful for that. One of the most memorable experiences that I had was actually on my first year at Juilliard, which was playing Wynton Marsalis's Swing Symphony at Carnegie Hall. And it was a collaboration between the Juilliard Orchestra and the Juilliard Jazz Orchestra, our big band. And I think it was close to 90 players on stage, which was definitely the largest thing I've ever played in. And it was a long form piece. It had about 7 or 8 movements. And I really took inspiration from that. First of all, just playing in that hall and thinking about all the history that happened in that room was incredible. But I'm also myself very interested in writing for larger ensembles and writing larger forms, and sort of combining jazz and classical music. So just being a part of this experience of playing in a big band, but also in a part of an orchestra, and being able to be a part of that experience live and not only hear it on a recording, is just something I'll never forget. It's hard to pick one, but I would say that every time we had a masterclass with Wynton Marsalis, which is the artistic director of our jazz program at Juilliard, just seeing the amount of respect that people have when he walks into the room, there's kind of like a loud silence. And just the way he talks about things and how much knowledge he has in jazz and in history. And it's always impressive to me how he combines the two in his compositions and when he's talking about his compositions, because every musical element has a kind of an historical justification in the music. So he really takes history and puts it in the form of music, and that was always really impressive to me. Growing up in Tel Aviv really influenced the kind of musician that I am today, because I think I got a good mix of both jazz and classical music education. So when I first started attending the Theo Melon School for the Arts, we really focused more on musicianship skills and how to be a well-rounded and efficient musician. So if that's notation or ear training and theory or arranging. So I think I got a good basics at that school. And then on top of that, we had musicians and teachers that lived in New York for so many years that came back to Israel and were teaching jazz and brought that whole tradition and that knowledge from New York. So I was very fortunate to be around these people. And the scene around Tel Aviv, the jazz scene, is, I would say, pretty traditional. There's a lot of people who are interested in the American songbook and in the jazz tradition. So that's definitely where I come from. And there was one teacher in particular, Danny Rosenfeld, who I owe a lot to, that pretty much taught me everything I know about jazz. He's just a really knowledgeable musician and really knows a lot of songs and a lot about the history of this music. So I feel like I learned a lot from him. And then also just being very fortunate when I was in high school, getting to sit in kind of spontaneously and join the bandstand with older musicians that kind of showed me the way and taught me on the bandstand. So that was definitely one of the most important experiences that I've ever had in terms of learning music. The past few months have been very difficult for many of us for obvious reasons. And I think that one of the hardest things about living here in New York for many of us is just not being able to be home physically and provide that support to the people we love and be with our families. And personally, not even being able to visit ever since everything happened. And there's also a lot of difficulties that we're facing ourselves living abroad, that there's only so much that we can do from here.